A narcissistic victim refers to a person who is experiencing narcissistic abuse. Since the saying, pain changes people, narcissistic victims tend to transform into someone they are not due to abuse. Narcissists subjected their victims to gaslighting, victim blaming, deflection, smear campaigns, manipulation, pseudo-empathy, etc. With that, narcissistic victims may experience reduced self-worth, extreme self-doubt, and various mental illnesses caused by a narcissistic abuse. I'm going to show you the 10 signs that can describe what a narcissistic victim looks like. Number 1. A narcissistic victim seems too apologetic. Due to prolonged episodes of victim-blaming tactics deployed by narcissists, narcissistic victims become too apologetic. Their abusers brainwash them to believe they are always at fault. With that, narcissistic victims often say sorry to the people surrounding them. Every time they mess up due to unintentional or honest mistakes, they will directly apologize to everyone around them for being careless. Human as we are bound to err. But that does not always require asking for an apology from the people around us. Since nobody is perfect, we only need to consider our flaws and weaknesses. Avoid being too hard on ourselves, and forgive ourselves for all our shortcomings and mistakes. Number 2. A narcissistic victim is introverted. Narcissistic victims often withdraw from society because of the abuse they experience from narcissists. They do this to avoid people, places, things, and events that may relive their trauma. Since they think they are always at fault, they prefer to be alone than be with people to avoid experiencing the fear of offending others with their words or actions. During their alone time, narcissistic victims often overthink their mistakes and blame themselves for all the bad things that happen to them. Do you know someone who might be suffering from narcissistic abuse? If so, you can help them cope with their traumas by making them feel they are not alone in their battles. Stay by their side during their healing process. However, if they prefer to be alone in the meantime, just respect their privacy but assure them that you will be there for them whenever they need you. Number 3. A narcissistic victim shows people-pleasing behaviors. Narcissists do their best to establish trauma bonds and codependency with their victims. As a result, narcissistic victims tend to constantly ask for their abusers' validation to realize their worth. They do everything to please narcissists because they do not want to suffer the consequences if they provoke them into anger. Since narcissists have been used to trying to satisfy their abusers, their people-pleasing behaviors extend to others. They do this because they do not want to hurt, insult, or trigger others and not to gain their favor. Number 4. A narcissistic victim is extra cautious of their words and actions. Since narcissists constantly shift the blame for their mistakes to their scapegoats, narcissistic victims tend to accept the lie that they are careless and troublemakers. With that, narcissistic victims become extra cautious of their words and actions, especially around narcissists. They restrict their movements because they do not want to err against their abusers and other people. Narcissists have had too many punishments which they did not deserve in the first place. Narcissistic victims are like walking on a newly mopped floor while the cleaner is still nearby. They tend to tiptoe because they do not want to offend the cleaner. Number 5. A narcissistic victim is often melancholic. Narcissistic victims often exhibit negative vibes. This is because they no longer find any happiness or satisfaction in their lives due to the narcissistic abuse they have been suffering. They are most likely to experience depression. Considering all the toxic energy narcissists have imposed on them, if you know someone who suffers from the narcissistic abuse, observe their behaviors. Are they lively or lonely? If you see them alone and sad, do your best to make them smile or laugh. If you think you can do something to help narcissistic victims cope with their trauma, please do so. Become one of the reasons why someone strives to restore their mental health and overall well-being. Number 6. A narcissistic victim is always second-guessing about various things. Narcissistic victims developed self-doubt over time after all the gaslighting tactics narcissists deployed on them. Gaslighting is when an abuser denies the ideas, emotions, and recollections of memories of their victims. In short, Narcissists reject their victims' reality by twisting their minds through brainwashing. As a result, narcissistic victims feel their thoughts and feelings are invalid. In addition, they doubt their sanity because narcissists often accuse them of being paranoid. Every time they bring up their abuser's past mistakes, which had taken a toll on their emotional and mental well-being, narcissists tend to respond this way. "Why are you making things up inside your head? I never did anything to you because that scenario you created never happened." As a result, narcissistic victims tend to doubt the validity of their thoughts and memories. With that, they prefer to shut their mouths to avoid being called paranoid by their abusers. Number 7. A narcissistic victim seems helpless and hopeless. During this stage, narcissistic victims get tired of pleasing their abusers and other people. They are emotionally exhausted from constantly saying sorry. In addition, narcissists no longer want guilt to consume their whole being. They finally realize that no matter what they do, they will never be able to please or satisfy their abusers and other people. As a result, narcissists become helpless about their emotional and psychological struggles. Narcissistic victims do not try to seek help from other people because they do not want to add up to their burdens. They tend to be pessimistic about the future because they no longer want to give themselves false hopes that better days are coming for them. Narcissists prefer to expect the worst-case scenarios to prepare themselves for all the pain they may experience. Number 8. A narcissistic victim looks very anxious around people. Since narcissistic victims often withdraw from society, they tend to be uneasy when surrounded by many people. They are already used to self-company and forget how to socialize with others. Their interpersonal and social skills have been significantly affected by narcissistic abuse. Narcissists often do things that will reduce their victims' self-esteem because it, in turn, boosts their egos. As a result, narcissistic victims lose all their confidence to face and talk to their fellow humans. Number 9. A narcissistic victim exhibits signs of depression. After all the abuse they suffered from narcissists, narcissistic victims tend to display symptoms of depression, including sleeping and eating disorders. In addition, narcissists lose their interest in their hobbies, passions, and goals in life. And the worst-case scenario is when narcissistic victims start to have suicidal thoughts. If you know someone suffering from narcissistic abuse, observe them if they exhibit signs of depression. If so, do your best to help them by convincing them to consult a healthcare professional, such as psychologists or psychiatrists. Number 10. A narcissistic victim has trust issues. After all those times of manipulation, lying, cheating, and betrayal committed by narcissists, narcissistic victims develop trust issues towards their abusers and other people. They build walls to prevent their abusers and others from breaking their trust again. It is their defense mechanism from the narcissist's manipulating tactics. It will take a long time before narcissistic victims open their hearts and give their trust again. As long as the trauma and emotional wounds still bother them, narcissistic victims struggle to trust others. In conclusion, now that you have learned to determine what narcissistic victims look like, be more kind, gentle, and sensitive towards these people. Avoid doing something that could add up to their heavy burden. Instead, do your best to be of service to them by helping them recover from their traumas in the following ways. 1. Listen to their sentiments. 2. Let them vent out in front of you. 3. Avoid judging them. 4. Assure them that their thoughts and emotions are valid. 5. Tell them that they are still worthy despite their emotional wounds and scars. 6. Be more understanding with them. 7. Be patient with their healing process. Do you know someone suffering from narcissistic abuse? Apply the ways mentioned earlier to help them cope and move forward. Give them hope that the best is yet to come. Be their strength when they are still weak. Did you find this video interesting? What do you think? Leave a comment below. Like this video and subscribe to this channel. Watch this next video right here.